One of the biggest things I see with chiropractors specifically is they're not as concerned with their bottom line as they should be.
Welcome, Genesis Nation, where we are leveraging technology to help you create your dream practice. And today I am very excited to have my friend and colleague, Michelle Corrigan. And for those of you who have never seen her face, this is a rare occasion where she's actually getting on camera. Michelle is Genesis Chiropractic Software's Director of Operations. Michelle also is a certified coder, a certified compliance officer, and she has been in this game for so long that when she started, she was filling out her HICFA forms by pen and paper, right? Those red pieces of paper. Did you have one of those like Oki data printers also with those rollers?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You did.
It's how we printed day sheets in the beginning for all of our patients that came in.
So you have a vast amount of knowledge, and I can speak firsthand because when I was in practice, I had you on direct dial, and we created a good relationship before we even met in person and now work together. You helped our office with a lot of avenues, just leveraging Genesis software in general to use single point management and the task manager console, as well as coding assistance, so that we can make sure that we're getting the best return on the investment and getting reimbursed as best as we could. Every single time we added a new service, from injections to chiropractic to physical therapy to acupuncture. So what I wanted to create for our audience today was an overview, a high level of, what are the things that you see the biggest mistakes that you see doctors making as far as their businesses are concerned, because you're under the hood, and we're not going to reveal any information. We got to speak, any private PHI, but we're going to talk generalities. Like, what do you see as the top mistakes people are making?
Yeah, sure. So before we start talking about that, we're also going to throw out the disclaimer that anything that we say today should not be used as advice to code or operate the billing in your clinic. Perfect. Definitely always check your local regs and, consult a compliance officer that's not me if need be.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that disclaimer. Very important. It is on the bottom of our emails too, but yes.
Yeah, it is. So really for me, I know we talking about 3 things, but there's 5 things that I definitely see in, I don't want to say every practice because that's a generalization, right? But one of the biggest things I see with chiropractors specifically is they're not as concerned with their bottom line as they should be. And the second thing is they typically do not have their staff trained and as knowledgeable as they should be. So there's money always slipping through the cracks there. If they're doing their own billing in-house, they do not always do the best job at following up on rejected or underpaid claims. And that's leaving money on the table for the insurance company, which generally hurts chiropractic, overall through the entire network effect. Keeping up with insurance company changes, the submission changes, the rule changes, the coding changes, and the last one being actually the coding itself, specifically as it relates to modifiers. I know a lot of people typically misuse modifiers or use them for the wrong reasons. And, I've had people say to me, well, I got to put the 59 on there to get paid. It's not a payment modifier.
It's a treatment modifier.
Treatment. You're literally modifying the description of the procedure code you're building.
But when we describe things appropriately that are being done and are true, we are more likely to get paid for them. Can you, before diving in there, so because the first thing you mentioned was paying attention to the bottom line, meaning like we're looking at just the revenue coming in and not the overhead and the expensive staff and the things that we're wasting on basically throwing money away where we can just leverage technology with more. But you mentioned the billing network effect. Can you talk to that and explain that?
Yeah, I think so. So the network effect being, if something is happening, say at a clinic in Maryland with Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? Rather than ignore it and not get paid on it, it's important that everybody looks at it because there's a chance it's affecting Blue Cross Blue Shield in Arizona. or Montana or Wisconsin or wherever it is. And typically, when Medicare specifically rolls out a change, every other payer is going to roll it out. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
And when things start getting denied or underpaid, if there's a multiple procedure reduction, it's definitely something that everyone needs to look at as a whole to see if it's state specific, payer specific, or if it's going to affect everyone.
Now, is Genesis consistently scrubbing and using this in the way that it's automating things for practice? Let's say if there was like someone new coming on board, like you said, in the state of Maryland, I've already got however many chiropractors that have been working in Maryland for that long, plus everyone else that's part of Genesis in this whole collective network. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we do is with the built-in validations or scrubbers,
Yeah.
as we notice the things changing in the states, the most recent one being the addition of the GP modifier on your therapy codes.
Yeah.
So the payers that require that, as they're coming along and saying, now this payer in this state requires it, we're able to add it into Genesis so they don't have to think about it. It just automatically goes on there for them.
And it would show up as like
an auto add any other modifiers. Let me say
that. Say that one more time. That cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We the GP modifier on the therapy codes, it's the only one that we're going to auto add for anyone because it doesn't change reimbursement rates.
Okay. But the system will obnoxiously show you with a big red exclamation point, like this is not working, whatever you just put in there. Okay, cool. Very, very, I mean, that right there is like leveraging technology to its best and using the collective customer base or tribe of Genesis to learn from its mistakes or, continue with that. So what about looking at the bottom line? What are some tips around that? Just looking at it?
Well, looking at it, understanding it, knowing where your money's is. And with chiropractors specifically, there's a huge struggle with collecting patient money. Because
are we too nice?
You're healers. You want to heal your community. You don't want $45 to stop your neighbor from coming in to get her treatment. But then Mary tells all of her neighbors, and if you're not collecting your patient money, I understand healing the community and changing the world, but at the end of the day, the lights have to stay on. The staff has to get paid. And, all the rules surrounding how you can discount patient care and those things. Everyone should look at their own specific states. But definitely, if you're looking for a way to reduce private pay patients below the 15% that's allowed, look into something like CHUSA. Yeah, it's a legal way to give your patients a bigger discount.
Yeah, and I just met Christy from CHUSA this weekend, so we're going to be having her on this Genesis Nation interview, and it's that's a great way to provide, to work within the regulations and provide the care and get paid at the same time. So, what have you seen without CHUSA? What have you seen some others, and that's Chiro Health USA. What have you seen some other offices do to get around this hurdle of collecting copays, co-insurances, things like that? Obviously, this whole presentation that we're doing here has a big asterisk on it. Like, don't take this as consulting, right?
Right.
So what can we, what are some things, some ways that offices can do better at collecting on those, co-insurances, copays, things like that?
Well, first of all, they have to try to collect it, honestly, rather than not collecting it.
Just ask for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that goes back to a really strong staff. Your front desks, they have to be the strongest players in the clinic. They have to be strong enough to say, I need $45 today, ma'am.
Period.
Because the patients will say, well, I didn't bring my wallet or this or that. And they'll go, that's okay. You get it next time. No, in a perfect world, they should be paying that money before they ever see a doctor.
Yes. Well, and other offices, it works, in I would say in the allopathic world, like my experience, they tend to lead with insurance and money. Yeah. I think there is a way to have a good conversation around this while, holding integrity to the way that you're running your practice as well as collecting the money. I've always heard, like, how would you like to pay for that copay today? Cash, check, or charge? Well, I don't have my credit card today. Okay, so that'll be cash or check. I don't have cash today. Okay, that'll be a check. But then you're left with, so
Right.
it does require some training. So to your point, there needs to be processes in place and training around this with front desk staff, people doing report of findings, case management, things like that.
Yeah, and also another really good thing is to use a credit card merchant that allows you to virtually store the cards. So
Awesome.
when someone says, "Hey, I don't have my card," they'll go, "That's okay. Do you want me to run it on the card we have on file?"
Yep. Perfect. And that's, nowadays everything is seamless, obviously, with the things that we've got integrated where people can fill out their paperwork on the phone. They get their bills emailed to them on the phone, receipts emailed to them or texted even before they get out of the office. I know some of the things that we're working on internally or that are already in play internally is that the patient gets their confirmation that they've already paid before they leave the office, so it doesn't create a backlog of lineup at the front desk. So we talked about paying attention to the bottom line, training staff. The one you brought up, we talked about coding. Actually, no. Can you bring up coding? Some coding issues. How do I get my coding right?
Well, first of all, you have to understand what you're doing, right?
Okay.
And understand the relationship between your procedure codes and your diagnosis codes. And really, the unfortunate byproduct of the world we live in, right, is you have to make sure that you have a bulletproof note that not only proves that your patient needs that treatment, but you have to have solid medical necessity.
Yes. And that's different. That's different in each state, obviously, especially, if you're doing something like visco supplement injections, right? You have to go through using NSAIDs or physical therapy or other means of relieving knee pain before you're even doing the injections. And I would say going back, like you got to get the notes right from the beginning, correct? Yeah. Like going backwards and, have you helped people through through clawbacks and audits?
Yeah, unfortunately, I would love to tell you that we've never had to deal with that, but we have.
That's reality. Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars we've seen
Yeah.
people have to deal with that.
I had to stroke a check back way early in practice because my notes were across this way, across line this way, and then across this way. And
Right. Yeah.
that's how I learned to take notes for physical therapy. I'm like, I knew I did it, but not until I went over to Genesis and was able to actually create efficient notes. And now it's just click and it fills the note up immediately, and it feeds over from the initial exam to the daily notes. It's super powerful. So if you could give, so coding obviously what's a good resource for chiros to learn about coding?
Oh gosh, I actually don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I'm going to throw Marty Kotler out of there with target coding is one. That's a
That was a rookie mistake. I should have thought of that.
I caught you on the spot. This is Michelle's first Zoom interview, everybody. So everyone, please comment below and tell her how awesome she is. And she begged me not to talk about feelings, so we may have to jump into feelings on this one. And no, we won't. We're just trying to have a little fun here, Michelle. Okay, so we talked about bottom line, training staff, and any are there any avenues that you suggest or you've seen successful, some different practice management groups or things like that with training staff?
I think the biggest thing it starts with hiring the right staff, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people get really stuck on, I need somebody with experience. I need somebody with experience. That's not always the case, because a lot of times people will come in and they'll just say, well, that's not how I did it at my last job.
Right.
Well, I don't care how you did it at your last job.
Yeah.
This is how we do it here. So more important for your staff is having somebody that presents well to your patients, somebody who cares about what you're doing in the clinic and also cares about your patients. The other things can be taught.
And also I'll throw in there that they adhere or they operate by your core values, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So hiring and firing by those. I used to love, I may get flagged on HR for this comment. I'm not sure. So we'll strike it. We'll strike from the video if not. But I loved working with people who had team sports experience, or, and one thing, we were just at a seminar this weekend. We talked about if you were in team sports and you had a coach, what did you like about that coach? right? And that told us from an employee perspective, okay, they're willing to sit and learn and, you know, be part of a team. So that's a huge piece of culture if that's not already part of your cultures. Okay, so coding, and help me out. What else we got?
Underpaid, rejected claims.
Yes. And that underpaid and rejected claims ties into, so every time what happens? So it's like, is it like parenting? Like you get the behaviors that you allow? Is that kind of what it's
100%.
like?
And listen, Aetna or Cigna or whoever it is, when they underpay your therapy, when it's billed with an adjustment, they're 100% banking on you not following up on that.
So that's really, you know, using, you know, if you're using full service with Genesis and working with our billing teams, basically fight every single underpaid or rejected claim. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And maybe not fight, but intelligently combat so that you're not just accepting it. So by you accepting it, it means, okay, we'll do it again, and we'll do it again, and we'll do it again. One thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if they're still doing this. I remember signing like one agreement. Maybe it was with someone like Ash, which these companies, these giant companies that look to cut all claims. So then it may have been ASHM.
Multi-plan, probably.
Yes, it was multi-plan. Yeah, because I signed like one thing that comes to the fax when you're running through, you know, 50 patients in the office in a day, and someone's like, "Hey, sign this." It came through on the fax so that we can get paid quickly, right? And I didn't. And of course, I'm running with my head down instead of creating a task and taking the time to read it and then following up appropriately and saying, "No way will I ever sign this," because I ran into something where we were getting like claims cut for almost like 2 or 3 years. And we lost tens of thousands of dollars because I signed one piece of paperwork. Yeah.
So basically the letter says, hey, we'll pay you faster, but we'll pay you less. Sign here.
Right. So please pay attention out there. Don't sign those things. If you don't, you know, because with, you know, how often are we submitting, are we filing, are we sending our claims in, like in someone who's doing full service? How many times a day?
4.
So 4 times a day. And what's the average time that we're getting reimbursement?
So that obviously depends on the payer, right? And also, I would have given you very different answers pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
So usually a good average is within 28 days.
Okay. Which
a lot of things are less. Medicare tends to be a little bit less, you know, and nobody take that to say if Medicare took 32 days that Michelle said it takes 14, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But obviously we're already accustomed to waiting. If you're taking insurance, we're waiting, you know, we are accustomed to waiting for a period of time to get reimbursed and paid, but it's definitely, and it's not like they're paying that much faster to get all those claims cut. So be aware of things that you're signing from any of these larger, what's the name of them? What are they, like care insurance network group? What are they called?
Kind of umbrella group or something. Yeah. I don't know the exact name, but yeah.
That's just
don't sign it.
Yeah.
If it says the word reduction anywhere in it, don't sign it.
Don't sign it. Okay. That's good advice. All right. So top 3 things that you want our Genesis Nation people to do better at, and where for themselves, for their own bottom line and their own practice and things like that. We did talk about a lot of things from, you know, looking at your bottom line, training your staff, you know, not ignoring the rejected claims, getting up to date on your coding. Anything else that you want to add in there?
Maybe just one thing about the medical records. We talked about it just a little bit about making sure it was right the first time.
Yeah.
I would love it if they were all signed off on the date of service.
I love these are like little tips. So for everyone who works with Michelle and her team, so go back and watch this video a bunch of times so you make her happy. And also, this is just a little tidbit. If you guys and gals, if you love the work that she's doing, please send her flowers because she likes them.
I do like flowers.
Yes. All right. Good. See, people got to know you. You do amazing work back there behind the computer. So thank you for, you know, for being this amazing support framework underneath. And I so appreciate how your brain works, your speed, your efficiency, all of it. So I'm putting a thanks out there as a former client and current coworker, and we appreciate the work that you and your team and everyone else at Genesis does. So thank you for your time. Anything else you want to add in?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.